In the vast landscape of human consciousness, there exists a profound truth that Paramahansa Yogananda illuminated throughout his teachings. The mind, like a musical instrument, can fall out of tune, creating discord in our inner symphony. When we find ourselves trapped in the suffocating grip of disturbed thoughts and foul moods, we are not experiencing our true nature but rather a temporary distortion of the perfect consciousness that lies dormant within us, waiting to be awakened through deliberate spiritual practice and divine remembrance. Before we begin, if you enjoy this video, give me a like, comment below about your thought and hit subscribe button so you don't miss any video inspired by Yogananda's teaching. Thank you very much. The disturbed mind is like a lake whose surface has been agitated by violent winds. The waters churn and roil, creating waves that obscure the depths below and prevent us from seeing the clear reflection of the sky above. In this state, we cannot perceive reality as it truly is. Our judgments become clouded, our emotions volatile, our decisions impulsive and regrettable. We react rather than respond, we criticize rather than understand, we close ourselves off rather than opening to the divine flow of life. This is not a permanent condition but a temporary veil that has fallen across the luminous screen of our consciousness. Yogananda taught that the root of mental disturbance lies in our identification with the ego and its endless parade of desires, fears, attachments, and aversions. When we believe ourselves to be merely this body, this personality, this collection of memories and preferences, we become vulnerable to every fluctuation in our external circumstances. A harsh word from another person sends us spiraling into anger or hurt. A disappointment in our plans plunges us into despair. A threat to our security triggers anxiety that reverberates through our entire being. We have forgotten our true identity as souls, as expressions of infinite consciousness, as beloved children of the divine who are inherently complete and lacking nothing. The bad mood that descends upon us like a dark cloud is not an enemy to be fought but a signal to be heeded. It is the soul's way of telling us that we have wandered from the path of inner harmony, that we have allowed our attention to become fixated on the shadows rather than the light. In these moments, we must not compound our suffering by judging ourselves harshly for feeling disturbed. Self-condemnation only deepens the groove of negativity in our consciousness. Instead, we must approach ourselves with the gentle compassion of a loving parent tending to a distressed child, recognizing that this too shall pass if we apply the right remedies. The first step in resetting the mind to its perfect state is to withdraw our attention from the external world and the endless stream of thoughts that comment upon it. Yogananda emphasized the practice of interiorization, the conscious turning of our awareness inward toward the source of peace that exists at the core of our being. This is not an escape from reality but a return to the deepest reality, the unchanging presence that witnesses all experiences without being disturbed by them. We must create moments of stillness in our day, sanctuaries of silence where the mind can settle like sediment in water, revealing the clarity that was always present beneath the turbulence. Meditation is the supreme tool for this inner reset, the master key that unlocks the door to our perfect mind. When we sit in meditation with proper technique and sincere devotion, we begin to disentangle ourselves from the web of restless thoughts. We observe the mind's tendency to jump from one concern to another, from past regrets to future anxieties, from petty grievances to grandiose fantasies. But rather than following these thoughts down their familiar rabbit holes, we gently redirect our attention to the breath, to a mantra, to the spiritual eye, to whatever focal point our practice employs. With patience and persistence, the gaps between thoughts begin to widen, and in those gaps, we taste the nectar of our true nature, pure awareness, unbounded peace, infinite potential. Yogananda taught specific techniques of meditation that work directly with the life force, or prana, that animates our body and mind. When we are disturbed, our energy becomes scattered and chaotic, pulled in multiple directions by conflicting desires and fears. Through practices such as the energization exercises and Kriya Yoga, we learn to consciously direct and harmonize this vital force, withdrawing it from the senses and the surface mind and channeling it toward the higher centers of consciousness. As the energy rises and becomes refined, the mind naturally becomes calm, focused, and receptive to higher truths. We discover that our mental state is intimately connected to the flow and quality of energy in our being, and by mastering this energy, we gain mastery over our moods and mental states. The practice of affirmation is another powerful tool that Yogananda offered for resetting the disturbed mind. When we are caught in negativity, our inner dialogue becomes a litany of complaints, criticisms, and catastrophic predictions. We tell ourselves stories about how terrible things are, how unfair life is, how inadequate we are. These mental narratives reinforce and deepen our disturbed state, creating neural pathways that make it easier to fall into the same patterns in the future. Affirmations work by consciously replacing these destructive thought patterns with constructive, uplifting, and truthful statements about our divine nature and the benevolent intelligence that governs the universe. When we affirm with deep concentration and feeling, "I am calm, I am poised, I am master of myself," we are not engaging in wishful thinking or self-deception. We are declaring a spiritual truth that exists beyond our current emotional state. We are calling forth the perfect mind that lies dormant within us, summoning it to manifest in our conscious awareness. The key is to speak these affirmations with conviction, to feel their truth resonating in every cell of our body, to repeat them with such intensity that they penetrate the subconscious mind and begin to reshape our habitual patterns of thinking and feeling. This is not a passive process but an active assertion of our divine will over the mechanical reactions of the conditioned mind. Yogananda also emphasized the importance of right company and right environment in maintaining mental equilibrium. When we surround ourselves with people who are negative, critical, and spiritually unconscious, their vibrations affect our own consciousness, making it more difficult to maintain our inner peace. Similarly, when we consume media that is violent, sensationalistic, or fear-based, we are feeding our mind with poison that will inevitably disturb its natural harmony. We must be discerning about what we allow into our consciousness, choosing instead to associate with those who uplift us, to read materials that inspire us, to engage in activities that nourish our soul rather than deplete it. The practice of selfless service, or karma yoga, offers another pathway to resetting the disturbed mind. When we are caught in a bad mood, we are typically focused entirely on ourselves, our problems, our hurts, our disappointments, our needs. This self-absorption creates a kind of psychological claustrophobia, a sense of being trapped in a small, dark room with no windows. By turning our attention outward and looking for ways to help others, to ease their burdens, to bring joy into their lives, we break free from this prison of self-concern. We discover that in giving, we receive, in serving, we are served, in forgetting ourselves, we find our true self. The act of selfless service shifts our energy from contraction to expansion, from taking to giving, from fear to love. Gratitude is a transformative force that can instantly begin to shift a disturbed mind toward its perfect state. When we are in a bad mood, we tend to focus exclusively on what is wrong, what is lacking, what has disappointed us. Our attention becomes fixated on the one thing that went badly while ignoring the 1,000 things that went well. By consciously cultivating gratitude, by taking time to acknowledge and appreciate the blessings in our life, we redirect our attention toward the positive, toward the evidence of divine grace that surrounds us. This is not about denying genuine problems or pretending that difficulties don't exist. It is about maintaining perspective, about recognizing that even in the midst of challenges, there is always something to be grateful for. The breath in our lungs, the beating of our heart, the love of friends and family, the beauty of nature, the opportunity for spiritual growth. Yogananda taught that laughter and joy are not frivolous indulgences but essential nutrients for the soul. When we are disturbed, we become heavy and serious, weighed down by the gravity of our concerns. We forget how to play, how to find humor in life's absurdities, how to approach our experiences with lightness and flexibility. By consciously choosing to smile, to laugh, to engage in activities that bring us joy, we begin to dissolve the rigid patterns of negativity that have taken hold in our consciousness. Joy is our natural state, the signature of the soul. When we reconnect with joy, we are reconnecting with our true nature, and the disturbed mind begins to remember its perfect condition. The practice of forgiveness is crucial for resetting a mind that has been disturbed by resentment, anger, or hurt. When we hold on to grievances against others or ourselves, we are like someone who drinks poison and expects the other person to die. The resentment we harbor does not harm those who have wronged us. It harms only ourselves, creating toxic emotional states that disturb our peace and block the flow of divine love through our being. Yogananda taught that forgiveness is not about condoning harmful behavior or pretending that wrongs did not occur. It is about releasing ourselves from the prison of bitterness, about recognizing that everyone is doing the best they can with their current level of consciousness, about understanding that holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. The cultivation of divine love is perhaps the most powerful method for transforming a disturbed mind into a perfect mind. When we open our hearts to the love of God, when we feel ourselves held in the infinite embrace of divine consciousness, all our petty concerns and disturbances are revealed as the insignificant ripples they truly are. Yogananda taught that we should practice feeling God's love in meditation, should cultivate a personal relationship with the divine as our most intimate friend, our eternal beloved, our truest self. When we know ourselves to be loved unconditionally by the infinite intelligence that created the universe, how can we remain disturbed by the small slights and disappointments of daily life? This divine love is not something we must earn or deserve. It is our birthright, always available, always flowing toward us, waiting only for us to open ourselves to receive it. The perfect mind that Yogananda speaks of is not a mind that never experiences challenges or difficulties. It is not a state of bland indifference or emotional numbness. Rather, it is a mind that remains centered in its true nature even as it engages fully with the experiences of life. It is a mind that can feel deeply without being overwhelmed, that can respond appropriately to circumstances without being controlled by them, that can maintain its connection to inner peace even in the midst of outer turbulence. This perfect mind knows itself to be an instrument of divine consciousness, a channel through which infinite intelligence and love can flow into the world. The journey from a disturbed mind to a perfect mind is not a one-time achievement but an ongoing practice, a daily recommitment to our spiritual ideals and techniques. There will be days when we fall back into old patterns, when we allow ourselves to be pulled into negativity and disturbance. This is natural and to be expected. The key is not to judge ourselves harshly when this happens but to gently and persistently return to our practices, to reapply the techniques that we know will restore our equilibrium. Each time we successfully reset our mind from disturbance to peace, we strengthen the neural pathways and energetic patterns that make it easier to do so in the future. We are training ourselves in the art of inner mastery, developing the spiritual muscles that will eventually make peace our default state rather than disturbance. Yogananda's teachings offer us a complete science of mind transformation, a systematic approach to resetting our consciousness from its disturbed state to its perfect, natural condition. By combining meditation, affirmation, right living, selfless service, gratitude, joy, forgiveness, and divine love, we create a comprehensive program for spiritual development that addresses every aspect of our being. We learn that we are not victims of our moods and mental states but masters in training, souls on a journey of awakening who have been given all the tools we need to realize our true nature. The disturbed mind is simply a call to practice, an invitation to apply these sacred techniques and rediscover the perfect peace that is our eternal inheritance.